Alabama hires Kevin Steele. Give us your take and post any questions that you have for us.
No, man, I think that I thought this was a decent hire. I think very similar to how I felt about Tommy Rees, how it's just kind of more of a decent hire. Tommy Rees, you got him for his upside. Because he's pretty much had a small sample size, right, for the most part. And I think for the most part we're going to be running a more of a pro style offense. We're going to be running the football a lot more. We're going to be relying a lot more on our physicality. And I think the most important part, and with Tommy Rees and Kevin Steele now being hired, is that these are guys that specialize in the trenches. I think that Kevin Steele, he's had some really, really good years. Of course, obviously the Clemson stint, what he did at LSU for a little bit, and obviously the most impressive one in my opinion was the Auburn one, what he did in with that 2017 and that 2019 defense. Kevin Steele was able to pretty much, he always had really, really good defensive fronts. I mean, and for the most part, they were able to develop some really, really good guys up there in the trenches. I do think that this defense could be a little bit different with Kevin Steele. Obviously, what he ran at Auburn compared to now, but I think that this was kind of more of a yin yang type of thing, right? Offensively, you got an upside guy, and now you have kind of already an already established name, not the biggest name. Obviously, Bama fans are going to be disappointed because we couldn't land Jeremy Pruitt. I don't know if he was ever, considered an option. But obviously a very, very experienced guy. He knows the SEC from a recruiting standpoint. He knows the area extremely well. He is on the older side about it, so that may be a little concern. But, obviously when you take a look at Alabama's stand, I mean, besides Kirby Smart and Pete Golden, we haven't really had, coordinators that have lasted here for a long time. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But overall wise, I'm feeling pretty decent about the hire.
Clint, give him some feedback, man.
Yeah, I'm right there with him. And really, it's kind of, like I said, I like the fact that they have a young, defensive-minded guy who has some experience calling plays, understands looking at the defense as a whole, and Austin Armstrong to kind of complement what Kevin Steele is going to bring from an experience standpoint. And just, he's seen a lot of football over the years at various places. He's got a lot of input, a lot of knowledge. I would actually like to see that on the other side of the ball. I would like for Alabama to get, more of a veteran established presence to kind of help guide, Tommy Rees. I think that would have been very beneficial for him at Notre Dame. Why not at Alabama bring in some kind of analyst or something that maybe has some head coaching experience or has been, an established offensive coordinator? Might not be the guy that you would want calling your offense at this point, but just somebody that can help, kind of blend the two together. Defensively, I feel pretty good about it. And it's like I said, the talent level. I mean, I think what Kevin Steele's going to want to bring to Alabama is going to complement what they're trying to do offensively extremely well. Like Kevin Steele understands exactly. He was part of Alabama's brand at a time where their identity was being able to stop the run, being able to play off of that. He didn't have access to all these, exterior pass rush and things like that. But I think that just the two coordinator hires to me makes a lot of sense. And Nick Saban didn't want to spend the entire offseason getting to know two new coordinators and trying to establish or build those relationships. And I think that that's why, Glenn Schumann and Jeremy Pruitt were already two guys who were very high on the list. And for whatever reason, they didn't work out. And we know probably why both of them didn't. Schumann probably wanted to stay with Kirby Smart and Jeremy Pruitt, he's got the stuff going on with the NCAA. So it ended up not working out with those two guys. But I think what Nick Saban, from a bare bones perspective, was looking for in his next defensive coordinator hire, I certainly think he's got that.
All right, Jared, get one more question in, man, before we go to our next caller.
Yeah, I was wondering, how do you guys feel about overall quarterback development? Tommy Rees, of course, being a former quarterback in Notre Dame, but how do you feel like he can develop using Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson and some of these other guys that are coming with their class? Of course, different quarterbacks that have different skill sets. Obviously, Jalen Milroe looks like he could potentially fit more of a spread system. But how do you feel he and Ty Simpson moving forward can fit what Tommy Rees is going to bring to the table?
Well, I certainly think that there's a lot of I was impressed with what he did at Notre Dame with the in-book. And I talked about this the other night, and I'll kind of reiterate it a little bit. Just taking a guy who was, a former 3-star player, didn't have a whole lot of arm strength, didn't have a whole lot of size, really built an offense that really fit for him. He utilized his skill set to the best of his ability, which certainly helped him be successful. And then he turned him into an NFL quarterback, not just a guy who was a Mr. Irrelevant, not even a Brock Purdy caliber player who's proved to be a pretty good NFL quarterback, but he was a guy who was drafted in the 4th round. He was obviously very well thought of. And I think that he can have success, developing quarterbacks that fits what Alabama's trying to do. And one thing about it, Georgia's quarterbacks the last couple of years, Stetson Bennett, I guess, is the main one, but also Daniel as well. Both of those guys had everything that you look for as a quarterback to help complement you or put you in a position where you can be successful. They had an offensive coordinator who understood them and built around them in a way that would allow them to be successful. They had a complementary run game with a deep stable of running backs that could take pressure off of them. They had an offensive line that could keep them adequately protected, and they had a complementary defense that was very opportunistic and could, generate turnovers, game-changing turnovers that puts the offense in a position where it can be successful. And it can also, whether it be a pick six or something like that, like the Kentucky game a couple of years ago was the one that comes to mind. A couple of pick sixes, and now Stetson Bennett has a commanding lead. It takes all the pressure off of him. So I think that that's what Alabama wants to do with its quarterbacks is put them in that position where they're surrounded by all those different, elements. And I think it'll make their job a lot easier.
Hey, Jarek, we appreciate you calling in, man. Stay blessed. Please call again next time I have a call-in show.
Man, always, man. You boys have a good night, man.
All right, man. Take it easy. That was my good boy, Jarek up in Buffalo. Hey, what's good, fam? It's Kyle Henderson. Thank you very much for watching this video. Check out our other related content right here on Bama Insider. Be sure and like and subscribe, inching closer to 100,000 subscribers right here on Bama Insider.